Your Majesty, the long-awaited tactical analysis of the Battle of Falme. What was, what will be, and what is may yet be spoiled by this report, which contains major spoilers for Season 2, Episode 8 of This Turning of the Wheel of Time, and lore spoilers for Book 2 describing Last Turning. The Battle of Falme was a highly irregular engagement, in which two larger forces in Epirus paved the way for a third smaller force to achieve ultimate victory. The Children of the Light, hereafter referred to as the White Cloaks, were the attacking force led by Lord Commander Joffrey Bornhold. From the cover and concealment of a grove of palm trees in a valley just out of sight of Falme, he planned his attack. The defending force, the Shonchan Empire's so-called ever-victorious army, had a well-established defensive position in the city of Falme, their base of operations for the conquest, or claimed reconquest, of the Westlands. There was a third, much smaller force loyal to a certain Rand al'Thor of Western Andor, who that day was proclaimed the Dragon Reborn. We understand he is strong in the One Power. He may be the most plausible candidate for Dragon Reborn since Guara Malasan. He has certainly fulfilled more prophecies. Members of this force included Shinaran soldiers, several unusually strong channelers affiliated with the White Tower, and even Aiel Maidens of the Spear and Anogir. This force's goals aligned with some White Cloak objectives, but fundamentally contradicted most. In general, Bornhold's objectives were poorly defined and unrealistic, dooming White Cloak efforts from the start. He considered it his duty to answer the pleas from the people of Falme to fight these Shonchan slavers. Perhaps he secretly planned to withdraw after a valiant but ultimately inconclusive effort, but we will never know, as he was killed in action. Either way, it is thought by most that generals should only initiate battle when they are confident that they will win. Perhaps smaller-scale ambushes of Shonchan patrols or raids against Falme by the White Cloaks may have worn down the Shonchan strength without risking open battle. The White Cloaks did hope to be welcomed as liberators by the people of Falme, and to inspire them to rise up in rebellion, with this serving as a potential force multiplier that would have dramatically changed the course of the battle. The right number of citizens joining combat at the right time may have even led to a narrow White Cloak victory. Some have characterized the White Cloak objectives as contradictory. Why free the Damane only to kill them after? However, it is critical to recall that the Shonchan also have Dakovale slaves, and the White Cloaks no doubt hope to free as many Dakovale as possible, while killing as many Damane as possible. White Cloak eyes and ears possibly confused reports of the two, with some villagers stating that their family members were taken as slaves, and the White Cloaks assuming they were taken Dakovale, when in fact they were taken as Damane. For that matter, the White Cloaks may have not distinguished between the two, and simply thought of Dakovale as slaves and Damane as willing combatants. Bornhold was heard characterizing the Damane as, quote, witches, the day of the battle, the same term the White Cloaks used for the very much not enslaved Aes Sedai. The White Cloak army had several things in their favor, all which Bornhold had ensured through careful observation, preparation, and planning. For all his faults, Lord Commander Bornhold was a capable battlefield leader and a man of principle, and the White Cloaks will not easily replace him. The White Cloaks relied entirely on concealment while approaching their initial objective, which was forcing their way through the gate. Here we must acknowledge one of our past predictions regarding this was wildly off. This was indeed a hostile battlefield environment, but because they had the element of surprise, they did not need to use shields. They were going for an all-out attack. Yes, their horses were useless once inside the gates, but they simply dismounted. This seems to indicate that Bornhold expected decimation, or at very least was prepared for a retreat that would be a costly affair. Either way, Bornhold effectively forced his way into the city by massing his troops at the largest gate, which also faced the valley they were camped in. Accurate eyes and ears reports informed Bornhold of the key terrain where the Damane and Suldam would be located, which is where he directed both melee and ranged attacks. The White Cloaks prepared siege engines to this end, but deployed them too late in the battle.
A decisive strike on the tower early in the fight would have eliminated the Shonchan's most important weapon from the start, improving the White Cloaks' chances of victory. In addition, the White Cloaks made an error in overgeneralizing the pairs to be Aes Sedai, and did not understand that targeting Sul'dam was more effective than targeting Damane.
You see, when a Sul'dam dies, so does their Damane, which is not so when the Damane dies. Instead, the White Cloaks killed Damane, but not Sul'dam, in several instances. After Bornhold's attack began in earnest, the Shonchan Empire initiated its defensive strategy. Damane were the most valuable part of the Shonchan arsenal, and they were accordingly placed on top of the aforementioned high tower. This all but guaranteed their safety and maximized their lines of sight over the entire battlefield, facilitating generally accurate and timely ranged attacks, but at the cost of any meaningful precision. Further, fireballs created using the one power can be guided mid-flight and need not follow a linear or even ballistic trajectory, as evidenced by the Aes Sedai's attack on the Shonchan fleet later in the battle. As discussed in a previous report, the absence of Rakan and Torakan heightened the importance of placing the Damane on a tower. The Shonchan were accustomed to having them in the air above the battlefield on the backs of Torakan. However, with Torakan absent, they sought to replicate this by placing them on a high tower. The Shonchan did not task-organize their forces, preferring to keep the Sul'dam and Damane separate in a highly secure location. It seems they would rather lose 100 infantry soldiers to friendly fire than one Damane to an enemy arrow, which makes some sense in a certain cold logic. That said, the extensive collateral damage that resulted from sloppy, heavy-handed, risky attacks by the Sul'dam did them no favors. Perhaps the single largest error by the Shonchan, though, was the inexplicable presence of a large number of their strongest Damane on ships in the harbor where they could not engage the White Cloaks. They were reportedly there with the High Lady Suroth, a subordinate to the overall Shonchan commander, the High Lord Turak. Some internal political machinations between members of the High Blood may have played no small role in the Shonchan defeat. At critical moments, assassinations by the dragon and two of his followers decapitated both the Shonchan and White Cloak leadership, leaving them in disarray. While eliminating the High Lady Suroth, the Aes Sedai fighting for the dragon also destroyed most, if not all, of the Shonchan fleet, removing the most viable means of an orderly withdrawal for the few remaining survivors. The most decisive act of the battle, though, was that Althor's forces managed to retake the Horn of Valir from the clutches of the Shonchan and use it to summon the heroes of the Horn. The heroes' supernatural prowess and extraordinary mobility carried the day as they flew across the battlefield, devastating both White Cloaks and Shonchan alike. Soon the people of Falme were joining the dragon's forces to fight, undermining one of the few conditions of success for the White Cloaks' plan. The remnants of both White Cloaks and Shonchan forces, leaderless and decimated, retreated inland up Toman Head, away from Falme and the Arith Ocean. In the end, the White Cloaks' flawed strategy ensured they only succeeded in weakening, but not eliminating the Shonchan. In turn, Shonchan tactical errors at best, internal divisions at worst, prevented them from decisively repulsing the White Cloaks. This paved the way for the Dragon Reborn's force to destroy the seat of Shonchan power in their effort to invade the Westlands, while also denying the White Cloaks the chance to fill the power vacuum left by their absence. At this moment of triumph, one of the Aes Sedai fighting for Rand al'Thor proclaimed him the Dragon Reborn above Falme, bannered across the sky in fire in fulfillment of prophecy. And if I may give my opinion, Your Majesty, in so doing, manifested the reality that though the wheel sets our course and foreordains prophecy, it is us who chooses when and how to embrace and fulfill them, to become the heroes of another age's legend. Your Majesty, this concludes our report. Forward the White Lion of Andor. My ladies and lords of the Westlands, rulers from sundry lands, if you find the reports my clerks and I produce to be helpful, as you labor in the service of your people, do honor us with your raised thumbs, patronage, and subscriptions. Until our next report.